Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to build a preset from the global settings all the way up. Take a listen. Hey everybody, welcome back to my studio in Nashville, Tennessee, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute. If you are a new subscriber, welcome. People who have watched the channel for a little bit will know that I produce records, mix records, songwriter and things, and this season has been extremely busy. So today we're gonna do a deep dive into the Helix, starting with global settings. A lot of people, they get a Helix and they plug it in for the first time and they think, this thing is terrible. I hate it. I don't know where to start. How do you make a good tone? I don't know. Today, hopefully, we're going to kind of cover some of that. I'm going to move fast, or else this video is going to be 3 hours long. So save this video, rewatch it, and just keep it as kind of a walkthrough tutorial anytime you have a question. Without any further ado, let's dive into it. Today, I'm playing my vintage V6 Thomas Blug. I think that's how you say his last name. Vintage Strat. I went with the Strat today in building a preset because I feel this is kind of a go-to for so many different kinds of players. You can do so many genres with a Strat. This is just kind of a good broad paintbrush to start with. Obviously you can adjust the gain and if you're using a humbucker or any type of maybe hotter single coils. Signal path for today. The signal path is guitar straight into the guitar input of the Helix. Out of the Helix I'm going let's use the 1/4 inch jack today, but you can use either one, XLR or 1/4 inch, into the Apollo. That's it. Nothing else. Going straight in from that into Logic. So what you're hearing is all Helix. All right, so if you look at your Helix, now when you press the 3 button here, that is a access point to global settings, global EQ, command center, which is where you do all your MIDI sending, all things like that. And this is where you're gonna go first because we're gonna hit a few things. So there's the home button, or I'm sorry, the home button, amp button, save, and 3 lines. That global settings. Let's go through what I've done and what I typically do on any person's new Helix. First things first, since I'm using studio equipment today, I'm running line level. Line level just sends a lot of signal out to front of house. Sometimes that's too much. So if you're a new user, maybe start with instrument and mic level. This is what would be normally sent from DirectBox or just normal live music settings. Send and return, all these need to be instrument level because if you use these as effects loops for pedals, you don't want to be sending line level into a pedal, say an overdrive or anything like that, you will overload the pedal. Then you go to page over, and that goes to guitar amping. Really, honestly, unless you're using the Helix as an interface, none of this really will matter to you. And since I'm not using any of that as an interface, cool. Let's go to preferences. Now, I do this thing where I do discard the snapshot edits. That means, say you have a snapshot, say snapshot 5 right here is your clean. So when you press that, all the pedals and everything turn off except for the amp. Well, if you make a change to that, you want the Helix to forget that because you always want this to be the clean snapshot. You don't want it to accidentally try to remember, oh, he added a overdrive to his clean, you know, snapshot. And yeah, you don't want to do that. You want it to be, if that's my clean snapshot, that's my clean snapshot, and I can press that. It's like a panic button. Cool. So for me, I do discard edits, okay? Transparent tap tempo pitch right here. Now this guy, if anybody has ever worked with an analog delay pedal, you can turn the time knob and it will change the speed of the repeats. But if you turn that time knob while you're playing, you'll get this like thing. So I turn that off because I don't want to be in the middle of a soft moment or playing for a, you know, an artist that's a ballad, and you know I tap in the tempo and my whole pitch goes. Can't have that. Preset numbering. I can only handle numbers or the alphabet at one at a time. I don't want to do 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. I don't want that. I want it to be 000 through 127 and be done with it. That makes sense to my brain. Snapshot reselect. I do reload, and if you, we can go into a deeper snapshot video later, but you know, model, joystick, encoder, I just do it as model. It just keeps it really simple. MIDI, unless you are sending MIDI or receiving MIDI to the Helix, don't worry about this. So let's go to foot switches. Touch select. So if you want to edit a pedal, reach down and you just barely touch the switch. You don't have to press it down or anything. The electricity in your finger will activate that effect or whatever you have assigned to that. And boom, there you go. You are able to make adjustments here and it's great. We'll cover that later. I do 8 snapshots because the Helix essentially has 2 views. You can view it as pedal board mode, which is the most familiar for people coming from a pedal board. And then you can also have snapshot mode, which is 8 versions of your pedal board. I know it's slightly confusing, but anyway, I like having 8 snapshots. As you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you can press mode. And since this is a blank preset, nothing is on these yet. I do 8 snapshots and I do 10 switches. Now, I think on the LT, you don't have the option for 10 effects essentially, which that's sad. I'm sorry, but if the LT is what you got, that's awesome. Rock it. It's gonna be good. Expression pedals. Get you some expression pedals because this thing will be unlocked and there is so many amazing things that you can do with expression pedals that you can't just do with the one on the Helix. Go check out some of my other videos. I have examples of using expression pedals to control reverb amount and delay time, and then this just stays a volume or a wah. Right here, you see it says global. To me, I want it to be, if my volume pedal is down and I go to a new preset, then my volume pedal is still down, just like it is in the real world if you are coming from a pedal board situation. Lastly, display. Okay, now to me, LED ring brightness. If a pedal is off, I want it off. I do not want it like slightly dimmed because in an emergency situation or in a live situation, I don't want to think my delay or my overdrive is on and accidentally go turn it on by mistake. If it's off, the ring is off. Tap tempo LED. I like being able to see how fast my tap tempo is, so leave that on. Now that the global presets are set up, let's build a preset. Starting with the input block right here. To me, you can keep it on multi, but I think there is a sonic difference when you just select guitar input. So to me, set it on guitar input. A lot of people don't know what this is, the guitar in Z. So that's the impedance. Best case scenario, put it on 1 ohm. That way the Helix is at its most welcoming of anything coming into it. Auto works just as great too. So then immediately once you do that, I take the joystick and just joystick over, and I do that to where now path A is connected to path B. This way you have the longest possible signal path and the most options. Let's start with the dry signal real quick. The dry signal sounds like a guitar plugged into a direct box. Hardly any volume, you know. There you go. Sounds like a Strat plugged into direct box. Let's build this preset. First things first, I like compressors. Let's just put a mono compressor because all of this right here is going to be before the amp. First thing, let's get that compressor on. All right, now, I like it because it just is at the front of the chain. You still retain all your dynamics, but it helps keep my heavy hand in check a little bit. And it brings up the overall gain of the guitar. Lovely. So then after that, this is where, you know, a fuzz pedal would go because you typically want fuzz at the beginning of the chain. A pitch pedal would go up towards the front of the chain. So let's do this. Let's add a pitch. So let's just do a simple pitch, and let's do just an octave up and 50% mix. Let's just leave it as is, like that. To assign that switch right there, so make sure the pitch is highlighted, go down, and let's put the pitch right here. Boom, that's how you do it. I didn't press down the switch, I just barely put my finger on it. You can put it 12 up, or you could do 12 down. Chords do not work. It works a little bit better on the 12, but hear that glitchy, that charm. Anyway, it sounds cool going through delays and verbs. All right, next, let's jump into overdrive. Okay, let's start rocking. To me, I like putting a lower gain overdrive pedal towards the front, okay? So let's go with their, man, the Minotaur is just great, which is the Centaur, which is a Klon, which is just a great overdrive, okay? But here's the thing, it's gonna start sounding like crap if we don't have an amp. So, to me, let's go towards the end of the chain, right here, and let's put an amp. Let's figure this out. Let's do amp plus cab. This is the easiest way to get going really quick, up and running. You know, I love the Matchstick, which is, I think it's a DC-30, I think that's what it is. It just sounds the greatest on Strats, on most guitars. It's EL84, kind of chimey. So once you select Matchstick, press home, and then let's start playing around. These amps don't have master volumes, so they just dime it out for you. I like having an amp that kind of borderlines on breakup, and like just if you dig into it, it's gonna start breaking up. That's a bit much. Let's turn that down. Let's go back to that compressor. Turn that down, get a little bit more headroom. Okay. When you are setting the levels on a digital modeler, make sure you're doing it with some actual volume. Try to, at least, you know. One thing to know, the channel volume. Imagine on a studio fader, that the fader inside the studio does not affect the amp and guitar relationship. That is this pedal, or this knob right here. So you can turn this up, and this turns up the output of the overall sound. Not adjusting the gain, it doesn't adjust the volume of the amp, it's just the fader, like in the studio. Cool, sick. Put a little bit more. Let's look at the cab. Now the cab in the real world, this is a 212, looks like a Heritage 30. You know, it's a great sounding cab in the real world. But to me, sometimes you got to do weird things in the digital domain. So this is a 412 with greenback. Turn up that early reflection, get a little bit more room in the... All these movements right here start helping the guitar feel like a guitar and not like you're plugging into a direct box. Now this is a 121 ribbon. Let's move it back a little bit, do a low cut up to about 100. I need a little bit more drive. Yeah, let's do a little bit more of a cutoff on the amp, just a little bit, not much, not much. Also, the distance will lower the bass on an amp as well. Also, don't be afraid of the high cut. Digital stuff can sound really ice picky, so it's important to know to you can shave off a lot of high end and you'll still be fine in the digital world. Another trick is using the bias knob. Turning the bias up, even just one on each bias and bias X, is gonna get you a little bit more headroom on the amp. Now, let's go back to that overdrive pedal that we put in here. Let's turn on a little overdrive. Off. On. That's drive one. To touch, maybe bright, turn the brightness down a little bit. Just to say we touched the preset, whatever. Cool. Now, I always like a second overdrive, just because sometimes you just need more. The Heir Apparent is it's the Prince of Tone overdrive pedal. You're gonna be able to get good tones kind of just by turning it on. Haven't even adjusted it yet. Let's assign that right next to the Minotaur. Let's do normal gain level, because we're not doing anything crazy high. Bump the level and the gain just a touch. It's clean. Toggle back and forth, always, 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 always. So gain stage 1 should be the amp. Ooh, that's nice. This would be gain stage 1, bridge pickup, and the amp. Okay, Minotaur, Heir Apparent, stack. I think we'll be okay with that. Cool, and then you know, that's all just in the guitar. Let's throw into maybe some modulation. Let's go with a chorus. Let's still stay mono, and let's put that before overdrives, because I think that sounds better. Strat with chorus. Works for me. Let's assign that next to the pitch. Cool. Off. On. And I didn't touch it. If it's a time-based thing, that's how you toggle between actually being able to control it with the tap tempo. Pretty cool feature. Great, get some great overtones in there. Let's move on to delays and reverb. Okay, so currently right now, this is still a mono rig. Everyone will do this part differently. This is the problem with the Helix, because we can do so many things with this juncture in our preset build. We can keep it really simple and just put a couple of overdrive, or put a couple more delays and verbs and be done, and that's a solid preset. Honestly, I think we should go just a bit more crazy. Just a little bit more. So press that amp button, action, grab your amp, let's shift it over here, okay? Now, anything after the amp can be done in stereo, and it will split out and it will be beautiful. Anything before the amp will be mono. As soon as it hits the amp, it's gonna be mono. So let's do this. Let's put a delay before the amp, and then we'll put one after the amp and a verb after the amp. Go into the Adriatic delay. Let's assign this to a switch, and I like to put all my delays over by the tap tempo. Is a true quarter note delay. Sounds great. Let's do eighth. Great, let's do a little bit of overdrive and delay. Cool. Now, I also like to have a longer delay tone as well. Let's do that after the amp. So let's do something just nice and simple. Now the scale, as you see, like right now, it sounds like a mono delay. Turn the scale knob and you can put it at 50% and you'll get ping-ponging. Sounds nice and lovely. Now you can do 75%, and that will get you a dotted eighth and a quarter note together. So it'll sound like this. So that mix up a little bit. Cool. And let's maybe bump the tempo just a hair. Hey, I wonder who that sounds like. Thanks, Edge, for all you've done. But I personally like to do about 96 right here. Now, here's why. It's so much wider to me than it going bing, 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 you know? Obviously, use headphones, because if you're listening to this on your phone, Good Lord help you. Let's do a little bit of overdrive with this longer delay. All right, let's go crazy. Let's turn on both overdrive. It's kind of intense when you put both on. Let's turn that mix down just a little bit. Let's see what happens when we put both delays together now. Sounds good to me. Put that chorus in there. Woo! Maybe some pitch. It's a lot of delay. It's a lot of delay. I want that octave up to just be kind of subtle. And we've still yet to add reverb. Let's put a reverb in there. All right, press reverb, stereo, boom, now. Let's do, the Granny Mead is really simple, really beautiful, big old reverb, it's great. Let's turn that mix down to about 30% because it's gonna take off on you real fast. Bumping up the pre-delay will help maintain some of the actual note attack. To me, I like to be able to still hear the note and then the trail of, you know, glory that follows it. Turn that decay up and you'll hear it just... We'd be here all day. So let's turn down the decay because we're not ridiculous. Big O reverb. And if that's not your flavor and you want more of a spring, use the double tank. But definitely play with the mix and the decay on this one as well. But this one can also so much, too much. Now the minute you put overdrive with that, you hear a little bit more of the artifacts of it and things. Works for me. I like to treat that as the always on reverb. But let's do something really fun real quick. All right, this is a little bit more advanced. Let's say we want to have a extra long reverb option, but watch this. So press and hold. It says learn controller. Let's learn this switch. Look at that, it says mix. Let's set the max value to be maybe at like 50%, and the minimum value, to be at 20, okay? Latching, all right? So now press home. Now watch this. When I press that on, my mix goes up to 50%, back down to 20. But say we want the decay even longer. All right, same thing. Press and hold the decay. Let's set the maximum value to be ridiculous. Now, you have, when you press that button, this is gonna come in handy for the guy who likes to do the swells and things like that. Speaking of swells, you can't do swells without a volume pedal. So I like my volume pedals after my overdrives. So go here, volume and pan, press that. Position, learn, controller. I am moving the, foot switch on the Helix. That's my volume. There you go. That is, most people can get by in a gig with a couple of overdrives, delays, maybe some modulation, just some weird. But let's say this. Lastly, you just need something that's more louder. If you love the sound of your two overdrives stacked together, if you dig that tone and you just want that but louder, you can put a volume, and it needs to be stereo, gain. Let's put this in, careful, this will get away from you real fast, at 3. I'm putting it next to the two overdrives. This might get loud. Now it's just your sound, but louder. I feel bad I played that on a Strat. Say you want maybe the amp to get a little bit boosted and driven harder when you press your solo button. Let's go ahead, clear that block, and let's go down here where it's a mono because it's preamp. Press that, press that. Let's do a gain. Same thing. This one though, you can bump it up pretty hard because the amp can take it. Amp can take it. Assign it. Start with it off. E power chord. Sounds great. With it on. I think I personally like it after the amp. So let's clear that one because it has to be a stereo. Go back over here and you know what to do. Stereo, volume, or gain, sorry. And let's bump, man, let's just, when you press that button, you want it to kind of hurt people. Let's be honest, we're guitar players, we have problems. Delay pedal, and now we got both overdrives plus the more louder pain. That works for me. Let's go one step further because we can, and it's awesome. As you see, the channel 1 drive is at 2.3, but let's assign that to that gain switch down there. The way to do that, press and hold. Remember, we're at 2.3. Learn controller. Press that gain switch. The minimum value, you want that to be at 2.3. The maximum value, let's set that at maybe like 6.3. Like I said, crazy. When you turn on the boost, it not only turns on this overall everything up louder at 4 dB, it will also do your amp gain. So it's like having a little like elf go over to your amp and go, "This one, my lord," and you turn it up just a little bit and on your solo. It's great. This is clean. Turn that boost on. That's just your amp and a little volume boost after it. But now let's put some overdrive on there with a delay because that's what we do. If you can't make noise with that, then, maybe you have an issue. Now, as you see, we still have a lot of, things things that we could do here, a lot of routing options, because we haven't even explored that yet, you know? That's for another video, which I promise will be up much sooner than this one was. If you dig this preset, there'll be a link in the description below. You can go down there, pick it up, and now you got options. You got a great sounding preset, and I think that this right here will be able to take you really far. We'll do another one of these, just kind of a build it. I might go a little bit crazier and put 2 amps, maybe a wet dry setup. But for today's video, I just wanted to get something up for you guys. I wanted to build it from global settings up. That is the preset for today. Hopefully you guys have learned something. Use this video as a template to build your own. The borderline breakup on an amp, those are some of the hardest tones I feel to dial in. So take your time, learn the amps, learn what each one of them do, research what they're based on, dig in, do your research, learn how to build presets from the ground up that fit your style and your playing. If you like this video and others, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, all the notifications, so when I release new videos, you guys will be the first ones to know about it. If you'd like this preset, there's a link in the description below, along with links to all of my other presets. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.